The aftermath of violence in the Sri Lankan town of Kandy, where police had to impose a curfew to control the escalating situation. Reports coming out of the country say Sri Lanka is on the edge. The target of violent attacks, Muslims. The attackers, Buddhists. Though the curfew in Kandy was temporarily lifted Thursday, tension remains high there. Authorities say the curfew may be reimposed. Buddhist mobs attacked mosques and Muslim businesses in the central town after an altercation between members of the two communities over the weekend. The escalation prompted President Maith-ri-pala Siri-sena to declare a state of emergency. This has stoked fears that the violence could spill over into other parts of Sri Lanka.
When we heard that shops were being attacked, we locked up the shop and left because we were scared. There were only about 3 policemen. Then we heard a huge sound and we fled to our village. When we were told that the army were deployed, we came back, but we saw that our shop on fire. So we got together and doused the fire.
There has been a surge in communal tensions in Sri Lanka over the past year. Some hardline Buddhist groups accuse Muslims of forcing conversions to Islam and of vandalizing Buddhist sites. Muslim groups deny those claims. Historically, relations between Muslims and Buddhists in Kandy have been harmonious, but tensions flared up between the two communities because of the rise of Buddhist nationalist groups after the end of Sri Lanka's 3-decade war.
I don't think the bond is broken as yet. I think a lot of the instigation that's being done is being done by fringe groups and people from the outside, and it's playing on the naive and the less understanding groups and people within society. I think if the government of Sri Lanka actually gets its finger out, does things properly, and begins to bring peace and brings to justice the people from the Muslims and the people from the Buddhists who've been engaged in violence.
Regardless of who is to blame for the showdown, the bond is undoubtedly no longer strong. But the hate of Muslims could be part of the paradigm in the wider region as followers of the Islamic faith are persecuted in other parts of the region, including in Myanmar.
What's going on? Why is this happening? One of the biggest reasons why this is, I think, actually happening is if you look at both Sri Lanka and Myanmar, these are both countries that have got a very close connection, diplomatically, militarily, economically, one would argue almost culturally, with the Zionist entity. Israel has been working very hard in Myanmar and Sri Lanka. In fact, Israel professes that it was responsible for the end of the civil war between the where you had the Tamil liberation movement, the Tamil Tigers, they're commonly known as. They were decimated because of Israeli assistance to the government, which is from another tribe, Sinhalese, I believe they're called.
The situation in the Sri Lankan town of Kandy could be seen as a microcosm of the hard times Muslims are going through in the world. Impartial observers in the West itself believe that the negative image of Muslims and of Islam in the Christendom and subsequently among followers of other religions such as Buddhism is basically a construct. This, they say, has been formed over the past years in a deliberate way to demonize Muslims and blame acts of violence by a very small number of people who claim to be following Islam on the religion itself and on over 1 billion people who practice it worldwide.
They need to manufacture Islamophobia. They have found these, some of these more unscrupulous Buddhist monks, these ones that are all over Myanmar, massacring the Rohingya. They have been preaching in Sri Lanka and Myanmar. And there's even evidence that's come out that over WhatsApp, over Facebook, over Viber and all of these other messaging tools, these people have been promoting anti-Muslim hate.